Welcome along, one and all, to PSGL once again. We are here for the 10th round of Season 38 PSF3, brought to you by GT Omega. This is the 10th round of the championship, and it comes to you from Suzuka, a track steeped in F1 history, as are so many of the tracks on this calendar, of course, but in particular this one is a track which has had many memorable moments, both in real life and in league racing, especially here in PSF3. If last season's race is anything to go by, that is what we hope to be treated to tonight for the 10th round. To take you through the action here tonight, it is your usual PSF3 commentary lineup of myself, Daka, and alongside me, as always, it is Ghost. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Good to be back after that absolutely wild race last week in Jeddah. We're here in what is an absolute classic of a track. I love this circuit. I've been good and bad at it over the years, but it's never changed that I love to drive on it, especially on a wheel. I feel like controller players don't like the circuit kind of universally just because of the first sector, and Spoon is also tricky, but yeah, once you've made the upgrade to wheel, this track is an absolute joy to drive, and hopefully, even with the championship implications in mind, the drivers can enjoy it as well.
Yes, certainly. It is a track, especially here over one lap. You just have to go to the limit through every single corner, and it is a joy to drive when you can get it right. And certainly a lot of these drivers are capable of that. We're seeing many qualifying specialists. One of them coming up to the line, and Ivan Eskrig, a fringe championship contender, needs to try and close that gap further, needs to stay in the hunt this round. He comes over the line to get this qualifying session kicked off.
He does indeed. Through turns 1 and 2, down the brakes, on the brakes and down the gears through turn 2, and getting on the power as early as you dare on the exit. Now 3, 4 and 5 coming very quickly at you. 6 is a little bit slower, and then down towards Dunlop corner, all the way up the hill, and flat out all the way through from Ivan Eskrig. Degner 1 is going to be flat out from Ivan, I guarantee it. There we go, flat through all of Degner 1, and then Degner 2 down to 4th gear, and getting the power down on the exit as early as you can. It's can be a struggle for grip on the exit of this hairpin now, but Ivan gets it spot on, using all the throttle he can, and all the way down now towards Spoon corner. There's a lot of iconic corners on this circuit to match with the iconic nature of the circuit itself. All the way through goes Ivan. It's hard to hit the first and second apexes, and I think he was just a bit wide of the second apex on the exit, but he seemed just about okay. You've got to use all the circuit. Now 130R all the way through, flat out, and down towards the final chicane he comes. Brake just before the 100-meter board, and through he goes. Locks the rears though, and that's going to cost him quite a bit of time. You can lose a huge amount of time in that final chicane if you don't get it spot on. Hugging the wall to the line, it's a 27.5. I think Dakar will be expecting low 27s, if not 26s today, so I don't think Ivan will be particularly pleased with that.
Oh, and well, look at that, already pushing the 26s almost with AJK Racing, who goes a quarter of a second faster than the championship leader, Alex Marciano. AJK Racing has been on absolute fire in qualifying in the last couple of rounds, and the man now driving the Mercedes tonight, certainly starting this evening off on the right foot. That's an astonishing banker lap, but it's been bettered by NLR Tom, who goes straight into the 26s. Tell you what, this grid can qualify. NLR Tom goes to the top of the timesheets for the time being. We'll see if anyone's able to top that. Morandi comes over the line, 8th position at the moment on a 27.9, just edged out by the flying Finn Moikuli, who goes into P8. Wow, what a lap from NLR Tom, and after a disastrous race last time out in Jeddah, well, certainly the right way to get the 10th round of the championship kicked off. Another championship contender, Triska, had a bit of a scruffy run through the last couple of corners at the Casio Triangle, so goes 7th on a 27.7. Wow, NLR Tom. Well, again, that is, like you, Ghost, around about where I would have expected the bowl time to be, but NLR Tom already getting himself established in this session ahead of the in-form AGK Racing and taking a bit of a scalp out of Alex Marciano. I think that's an important way to get this kicked off for Tom.
I think on this track, unlike most others, you tend to get banker laps being actually relatively close to the best times that you're going to get in the session, because it's such a momentum track around a lot of the corners, and there's quite a bit of room for error at some corners as well, and just a small mistake here and there isn't actually going to cost you much time, except for a few specific corners. I think the hairpin exit, the spoon exit, and the final chicane are when you're going to see the most time won or lost, especially with a grid of this caliber. But even so, I think a banker lap in the 26s is not what we expected. So that is outrageous from NLR Tom. And he's, like you said, got this off to a good start after the disaster last week in Jeddah, where Alex Marciano was not present. And NLR Tom needed a good result to close the gap and give himself a more realistic championship championship shot. But it just didn't go well. It didn't go to plan, and he found himself out the points, and he is still the same number of points behind as he was at the beginning of last week. So Alex Marciano will be coming into this one feeling fairly happy, but he's currently nearly 3/10 down on his nearest championship rival. And Ivan Eskrig and Triska, the only other two who have a mathematical chance at the title. But Ivan, realistically, the last of the three, because Triska, I think 44 points is too much in 3 rounds.
I would say so, and after this round we're going to have 36 points left on offer, so Triska needs a big night to keep that championship charge alive. We'll see how the Dutchman is able to get on. Watching down the track then, well, we've this season, you could say, has been characterised by drivers coming in and immediately making a statement. We saw that, of course, with Alex in that opening round. We saw it a few races ago in Silverstone with EVE Nico, and then this man, Francesco Lago, shook up PSF3 once again by taking a win on debut at Jeddah. Let's see how he gets on though. Around Suzuka, vastly different track, draws on a much different skill set. Coming at Spoon Curve is the McLaren. Of course, the other McLaren are for tonight. NLR Tom is the man to beat at the moment. Just under 8 minutes gone in this session. Where's Francesco going to go? That's a very fast time for the first 2 sectors, so this could be right up there. 1:10.3 for the first 2/3 of the lap. Under braking for the Casio Triangle, gets onto the curb as much as he can. Now straighten up that exit as much as you can, get as close to the pit wall, the shortest run to the line for Francesco, and it's a 1:26.8. Sensational for Francesco Lago, the Italian, getting off to a great start once again. Well, with a 100% win rate in PSF3 up to this point, and certainly showing why, taking it to the top, and certainly another driver shaking up the establishment. PSF3 has well, it's certainly not been easy to predict throughout this season, and Francesco, another driver coming in and just shaking up the order, going to the top by just over 1/10 of a second in this qualifying session at Suzuka, but many more talented drivers now on the hunt.
For an opening lap that is absolutely outrageous from Francesco Lago. We were talking about Tom's lap being ridiculous for a banker. That is even more so for PSF3 standard. That is absolutely huge from Francesco Lago, and we'll see if he can carry it through for the rest of the session. The race pace tends to be quite spread out on this circuit in most races that you see in league racing. Of course, PSF3 is not most leagues, as the grid is all so close, and we so often see extremely long DRS trains this season. Luca Lib is another driver who certainly made an impression last week. He also made an impression in the stewards room, unfortunately for him. And we'll see if he can make amends today. He's coming through the last chicane. He was certainly fast last week. We'll see if he can still be fast here in Suzuka. He certainly is, at 26.9 from the Red Bull driver. And he's going to go up to P3 just behind NLR Tom, who is currently on a lap and is improving in the first sector. He's half a tenth up there, and he's coming into the middle sector now. It's also a purple middle sector for AGK Racing, but he's come back into the pits, so he's abandoned that one in the end. What about NLR Tom as he comes past the sector line? No, he's lost it all. He's nearly a tenth down now, and this could be perhaps an early abandonment of a lap from NLR Tom. No, he's absolutely clattering his way through the chicane, and no, he's into the pits. And that is an early, well, a very late, I suppose, abandonment of that lap. But there's clearly potential there for the McLaren driver, and we certainly know there's potential from Ivan Eskrig. He's still in the pits at the moment, which is surprising. But we saw how much time he lost at the final chicane last time. And I'm very confident he can do a lot better than that as YCN goes to P4.
Another driver who made a big impression last time out in Jeddah goes fourth at the moment, and the fourth driver into the 1 minute 26 is just 16 hundredths of a second off of that pole time of Francesco Lago. But a couple of the second runs have fell a bit flat. Tom and AGK Racing, and well, Alex I don't think is even going back out on track, but now coming back out in that Aston Martin soon. So we'll see how the championship leader is able to get on further down the line. Moikuli improves to 11th on a 1:27.6 further back, and then the Alpine of Naples, who's actually bailed out of that lap. Not competitive for the first couple of seconds. Maybe it was an end lap, I'm not quite entirely sure at the moment. So a lot of drivers we are just waiting on to get going. Vessel has invalidated his lap, so as drivers begin to push the limits, as we so often see, the execution begins to fall off as these drivers leave very little room for error. As Viadek is near the end of the lap, though, takes that very wide entry line into the Castillo Triangle. Fourth gear, prioritising traction on the exit, then keeping that rear end firmly in check as the Red Bull driver coming up to the line goes into the top 10 just about. P9 on a 1:27.4. Now a lot of drivers begin to go back out onto those out laps. 6 minutes to go in the session goes. Francesco's time looks very intimidating for the rest of the drivers to go up against. We will see how they are able to pull that off and if they can topple the race winner from last week.
P9 with a 1:27.4 is an absolutely wild sentence, but that is the situation we find ourselves in here. Ivan Eskrig, though, starting his next run, we'll have to see if he can do any better than last time. We know he's got plenty of time in that final sector, but can he find some in the rest of the lap as well? I'll be keeping a close eye on his deltas as he goes through. AGK Racing starting a lap just behind him as well in the Mercedes, as well as Alex Marciano, the championship leader, who finds himself 4/10 down on pole, which is not where we're used to seeing him, and locking up there into turn 2. That's not an ideal start to the lap for the championship leader, but we'll see if he can find his way back as it goes on. Zviadek not on a lap right now. He's coming into the pits, I believe, this time. Provatox in the Kick Sauber as well on a lap as Francesco Lago begins one in Sector 1 as well. A lot of times are going to come in very shortly, and I think the first of them is going to be the man who has the most to gain, Ivan Eskrig. He's only half a tenth up in Sector 1, but he's coming to the end of the middle sector now, and the last sector is, of course, just one braking zone, just the chicane. Here he comes. Is it better? It is. It's 2.5 tenths better. This could be huge from Ivan. Remember, he locked the rears into the final chicane. Will he do it again? Down the gears, on the brakes, perfect this time from the Spaniard. He comes through the final corner and to the line, hugs the wall. What's this going to be? This could be big from Ivan. It's a 27.0, and it's only enough for P6 in the end. Look how close those times are from first to sixth, Daka.
AGK Racing invalidates at the final corner, the second part of the Casio Triangle. He was 0.2 of a second up, but that lap now falling away from him. Francesco Lago also invalidated. Alex improves to P5. A 27 flat goes just in front of AGK by 0.002 of a second. It is oh so close, and only getting closer as more and more drivers get more laps with better execution in. As NLR Tom and the other McLaren, he is well down in that first sector, so I don't think this lap is going to come together for the German. and yes, not going to commit fully to this one, so he's going to have to try and find more improvement further down the line. The Ferrari of Matisse is behind, but invalid. A 27.9 is not going to cut it in this company as it stands. And now Triska, the Dutchman in the Alpine, then gets a bit of a scruffy entry heading in to the second part of Spoon Curve, managing a bit of oversteer on the exit. He is the driver that has to have a good night to keep those slim championship hopes alive. He's 4/10 of a second up. That's good, but he's not tracking as quick as some of the others through the first two sectors. Can he get a good run through that final chicane? Turns in, well, closes up the line a little bit early, and a huge oversteer on the exit, and that's going to put pay to that effort. 13th position. Are Triska's championship hopes beginning to fade away at this stage? CPI Napple in the other Alpine is, I believe, the only driver far along on the lap. Takes a lot of curb at the Casio Triangle, gets away with it, and now heading up to the line. 27.3 is the time to the first two sectors, and that time is going to put him up one place, up to position number 8, just in front of ML Slash on a 27.1. So that's most of those intermediate runs now done, and we are going to get the final stage of this session kicked off. AGK is first out, has not been able to hook up the laps. He comes into this race on 2 consecutive pole positions. Can he make it a third? He's 6th place, but only 17 hundredths off that pole position, so a lot of potential still there. His best first and second sectors could put him right in. There are maybe nearly 9, maybe even 10 drivers who could challenge for that top spot. My oh my, we are going to get another frantic end to qualifying here, Ghost.
We certainly are. Just 2 minutes to go. A lot of drivers on outlaps, but a man in big trouble here is Ivan Eskrig. I think he's just coming out the pit lane, or was that his teammate Moikuli? I think that was Moikuli. Yeah, it was. And yeah, it's surely for sure now 1 minute 40. Alex Marciano has retired from the session in the pit lane, so he will take no further part. He will be 5th at best, and the championship leader having an uncharacteristically poor qualifying at this stage. I mean, he's P5. He's still well in the mix, but it just goes to show he's not invincible this season, and Ivan Eskrig is going to have to absolutely send it on this outlap if he wants to get over the line in time. It's going to be extremely close. It'll be within 1 second, I think. Provotox also retires. I'm not sure, but that's him out the session anyways. As Slash begins his final run, and a lot of drivers behind him also getting ready to start. Weimar Anvi is one of them, the Kick Sauber, and a lot of other drivers. Francesco Largo is the main one to watch, though. He is coming through turns 1 and 2 now and into the middle of sector 1. Can he improve his time even further and put it out of reach of anyone else in this extremely razor-sharp close qualifying session?
Weimar Anvi has come off in that first sector. When you're pushing the limit, that is what can happen. Even though it's not as technical and throttle control as it used to be, it still poses a major challenge. Francesco flew through that first sector on a 31.4, so he is right in the mix, looking to try and stamp his authority on this qualifying session. But further along in the lap is the Mercedes of AGK Racing, and he is flying. Look at that second sector time, 3/10 up. Can he grab that provisional pole spot? Let's see what the final chicane is going to be looking like. Third gear, gets a clean enough run, maybe hits the curb a bit awkwardly on the exit. I am nitpicking those. He comes up to the line. Is it going to be pole possession? Yes, wow. It is. AGK Racing, can he make it 3 in a row? One man to stop it. Francesco invalidated. Oh my goodness, that changes the complexion of this session massively, and AGK is going to preserve that pole position for now. Can anyone stop it? Luca Lib is not finding time for the first 2 sectors. I think the attention may have to go to NLR Tom. What's the second sector time? It's good, but is it going to be enough to have AGK? It's going to need a monster run to this final chicane. Down the gears quickly. Third gear, bit of a lock-up. Huge cut on the inside. Manages to keep it valid. Straight lining that exit as much as he can. Is it going to be pole for NLR Tom? No, he's denied by 4 hundredths of a second.
Purple.
YCN coming up to the line. It's 4th on a 26.8 behind as Matisse goes 12th. Where is Ivan Eskrig? He's a little way further down the track at the moment. Moikuli and Triska. Triska is a quarter quarter of a second up at the moment, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to challenge some of the top drivers in here. So let's see, coming up to the line, Vessel I think was improving to position 9, just goes into the top 10 ahead of Swiatek there. Triska comes to the line, it's only 12th, and I think it's going to be a steep charge for Triska from here. Ivan Eskrig invalidated, so he will not find any more time, and AGK Racing makes it 3. Unbelievable stuff, snatching it away from NLR Tom. Well, I think Tom will be fairly happy though with the way that qualifying session did play out. 400 shy. AGK though, quite simply unbeatable in qualifying at the moment. The Mercedes man goes to the top, snatching it away from Tom, but Tom I think will be happy with Alex down in 6th with work to do here.
Absolutely, and yeah, heartbreak for Ivan Eskrig as he invalidated on the exit of Spoon as I was riding on board. He was just about nearly a 10th up at the time, but yeah, that was lap over, and dream of getting any better than all the way down on the 4th row was over as well, and Ivan Eskrig's championship hopes are slipping away. I think he's 31 points behind at this stage. It's not far in the context of things, but will it be too little too late for Ivan Eskrig, and will he be phased out of this title battle, or will there be a shock, and will he be able to take a dark horse victory as he did earlier on this season, when things went wrong for the cars ahead and he just made his way silently through. See if he can do that again today, but it's a tall order, and he's got Alex Marciano just ahead of him as well. So yeah, DRS trains can be long and long-lasting as well around this track. So we'll see what Ivan can do.
Well, if the race is going to have conditions anything like this in mock race you're saying here, then, well, you never know what surprises we're going to get. Of course, I don't think we're going to get many DRS trains if it turns out that way, but
well, yes.
we shall see. It is always a possibility here around Suzuka is rain, so these drivers are going to have to be wary of that possibility. So we'll get into that race very shortly. I'll just run through the full qualifying results while we have the time. So AGK took that pole position again. First in Zandvoort, then in Saudi Arabia, and now here in Japan. Makes it 3 for 3. Can it be a race victory this time? We've seen him run off strategy in the last couple of rounds. Will he try that again? It's worked to good effect, even though it hasn't quite resulted in a race win up to this point. Tom takes, I imagine, a very pleasing 2nd place, and certainly a return to form after what we saw in Jeddah, just in front of, well, the new form man in PSF3, Francesco Lago. What could have been if he'd hooked up laps at the end of that session, I wonder. YCN again impressing, goes into position 4, and the other Jeddah debutant, Luca Leb, slots into P5, rounding out that top 5, and just ahead of Alex Marciano on that 3rd row. Just behind Alex is Ivan Eskrig, as Ghost said. He shares that 4th row with Napel, Vessel and Swiatek, round out the top 10, just in front of Slash, then Moikuli, then Triska, Moranvi, and at the rear of the grid is going to be Matisse and Provotox. That is how they line up for the Japanese Grand Prix around the revered Suzuka circuit. So let's see how it is going to play out. We are going to start thinking about the championship in a much higher capacity here, Ghost, with, well, certainly for all 4 of our championship contenders, very differing fortunes in that last session. Certainly provides a lot of theatres to keep an eye on in this race coming up.
Absolutely, and lest we forget about the constructors as well, Daka, because that is relatively close between the top 2. It is McLaren versus Aston Martin, and the McLaren duo, of course, NLR Tom and Spicer, but Spicer not here today. He's replaced by Francesco for today, but Alex Marciano's teammate also not present here in Suzuka. That is Lakitu. So it's going to be both drivers flying the flags for their teams and also for themselves. So the top 2 in the drivers, also the top 2 in the constructors. And it's looking like it's going to be fairly close, especially if Alex Marciano fails to make any progress in this race and NLR Tom manages to capitalize on a mistake from AGK, as he has made in the last 2 rounds where he has gotten pole. It just hasn't gone to plan in the race. If that happens again, it could be a huge opportunity for NLR Tom, but we did say that last week and it didn't go well at all. So there's plenty of possibilities, plenty of things that could happen, and we'll just have to wait and see what the result is going to be.
Absolutely, we will. Just while we have a bit of downtime, a quick mention to GT Omega, who have made PSGL possible, our sponsors for PSGL. You can have a look in the description. You'll see a link to GT Omega's site there. There is a 5% discount at checkout on all of their products using the code PSGL. Make sure to have a look and see. So, ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix, as we said, very different fortunes for all of our drivers, and as Ghost alluded to, potentially some comeback drives need to be in order, and certainly for PSF3, the mind goes back to what we saw last season with CPI Fraser and that comeback drive he put on. Now, it's certainly not an easy track to overtake on, but as he demonstrated in full effect last season, it is possible to move up, even if you are stuck in a DRS train. If you make the right moves, Suzuka's maybe not a track where that comes to mind, but it is certainly possible, so there's no driver you can rule out here.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw plenty of comeback drives in Jeddah as well last week, and plenty of heartbreaks as well. Yeah, here in Suzuka, it is tricky, especially when you're in a train. The DRS down towards turn 1 is not very long, and the ERS recharges relatively quickly. So even if you manage to catch the driver ahead in a poor situation in terms of their battery power, by the time you get to the straight, they will have recharged enough to defend at least somewhat with, and thus making your job a little bit harder. So we'll see what happens. It looks dry for now. Whether we'll get any rain later on is yet to be seen. There are some clouds in the sky, so I do wonder. But at the moment, it is bone dry, and the drivers, I'm sure, will be making their tyre selections. I would imagine most will start on hards. Maybe a few will chance starting on the mediums, but I think the majority strategy today is going to be a hard tyre start. And that makes sense in a grid of this caliber. I think an early safety car is fairly unlikely.
Well, you say that we should be expecting hard starters, and I do agree, but remember AGK from the last couple of rounds after starting off pole position, going completely off strategy, going for a softer compound off the start, and making good use of it, I have to say. He broke the DRS train, managed to shake everyone off in the opening laps of both Zandvoort and at Jeddah, and you'd say it was factors other than strategy. Well, maybe not in the case of Zandvoort. That was a different strategic error that put paid to his chances in that race. But certainly it's a method of attack which has worked fairly well for him in those last couple of rounds. We'll see if he does that or if anyone else is going to respond to that. But certainly I do agree. Hard tyres tends to be the way to go around this track. We'll see if that is going to be the prevailing strategy going forward, of course, and as well this track, and I keep remembering last season's race because it was so memorable. That was a race as well where we saw a lot of breaks in the DRS train as well, because you said as well race pace can be a bit more spread out at this track. So even though you can see long DRS trains, and you may well see it with this grid, possibilities to break away, well, it's not impossible as opposed to some other tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially around here, if you lose DRS once, that's pretty much game over, unless the cars ahead start battling hard, especially with a grid this close for pace. It can be very, very difficult. and you can just find that gap getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's all about the first few laps, whether the drivers can stay with each other and whether we'll see any groups begin to form straight away. And if we do, those in the latter groups will be probably hoping for a safety car. What NLR Tom will be hoping for is that the lead group will not include Alex Marciano. So we'll see if that happens, but he's a wily fox, is Alex Marciano, as we've seen this season, and I struggle to believe he won't take an opportunity to stay in the lead DRS train and give himself a chance in this race. But stranger things have happened, Daka.
They have, but yes, the Qatar Grand Prix showed his wheel-to-wheel racing ability. Now we prepare for the Japanese Grand Prix, round 10. We have 5 lights. And they leave the grid in Suzuka. It's another good launch off the line from AGK Racing, but then boxed down in wheel speds. Cuts off NLR Tom to the inside, looking as the championship contender, but runs out of room and slots in to position 2. The rest of the grid forms in due, with AGK Racing leading and still side by side further down as they head into the S section. And looks like now that's going to sift out some of the drivers, but Matisse at the back, spinning in the Ferrari, going off into the barrier. Has he managed to avoid major damage? He's got end plate damage on that Ferrari, and that's a major blow to Matisse's evening. At the front, it seems to be relatively clean. AGK leads away from NLR Tom. He has not decided to go off strategy this time out. He's going to go for the orthodox approach. He starts on the hards, and every driver but Provatox is elected to go for that strategy as well. So AGK leads them away. No major move by the looks of things into that hairpin. You can dive it from distance into there. The 2 Kick Saubers at the back are going side by side. Provatox making up a place, trying to make the most of those medium tyres, but other than Matisse, it's a clean start with AGK leading and NLR Tom staying tucked in underneath that Mercedes rear wing.
Absolutely. I was riding on board with the championship leader at the start. He tried to go down the inside of Luca Lib into turns 1 and 2, but he held it through the corner, but of course around the outside of turn 3 he just ended up losing out. So he stays in P6 for now. Napple getting past Ivan Eskrig and making his poor quali even worse at this stage of the race. He is down in 8th, is the VCARB driver, and we'll see if he can keep himself in the fight. AGK at the front, though, is being challenged for the lead by NLR Tom, who goes round the outside, and the championship challenger sweeps around turns 1 and 2. What a move from NLR Tom. He takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Alex Marciano was a little bit out of sorts there in the background at the exit of turn 2, but it's Tom who leads, and AGK down to P2. And for the first time in the last couple of rounds, AGK Racing is now not on at the front of the field on lap 2. But NLR Tom and the other McLaren for today of Francesco Largo still right with him, and YCN, Luca Lib, Alex Marciano and Napple, and in fact all of the rest of the grid all in this DRS train. Zviadek having a little look down the inside of Ivan as well. Ivan Eskrig perhaps seeming to give off some vulnerable vibes on the grid, because he is a lot of drivers are trying to go for him in these early stages, perhaps sensing that he's got more to lose in this championship fight, but Zviadek stays behind for now, and Ivan is going to have to make some moves in this race.
NLR Tom, who needs DRS? He goes early and takes away that race lead, but is a lack of DRS going to cost them here? Look at how close they are heading into the Casio Triangle. They all have to mind their braking points because it's so easy to run into the back of the car in front. Now DRS is going to be active and the train in full effect. You can see Francesco so close to AGK, but look at that closing speed, and this DRS is going to work against Tom. And look at Francesco. Francesco cuts to the inside and takes the lead away with a 3-wide move heading into turn 1. He leads from AGK Racing, a stunner towards turn 1, and well, Tom, he made a move without DRS, but without DRS this lap he paid for it in full effect, and he drops down from 1st to 3rd, and that is what happened when the train is running in such close proximity. Moranvi going off in the middle of the S section. A virtual safety car is brought out for Moranvi. Frustrating for the Kick Sauber driver. He's not scored since the 5th round, and Qatar will not score again tonight, and will take no further part in this race. Certainly Matisse would have been begging for a full safety car, but a VSC isn't going to change the wider race situation much, you would think, as the Francesco is just going to lead the field around. But yeah, that was quite a move. Well, maybe not requiring the most driving skill, but certainly pretty to look at as he pulled to the inside, and that just shows how much damage you can do even if you're third in the train as we get back to racing.
We do indeed. A short VSC there, and I'll tell you who will be cursing in the cockpit. Matisse in the Ferrari. He will have been hoping that would have been a full safety car, but no, it was a VSC, and he remains 40 seconds down on the rest of the pack. But Francesco Largo under pressure here now as he's going to go down towards turn 1 for the 4th time. AGK Racing just behind. He's going to have the DRS, but so is Tom. YCN in the mix as well with Luca Lib right on the gearbox of the Williams. And this is going to be perhaps fireworks into turn 1, or perhaps they'll all stay in single file. That's what they're going to do. No one looking to make a move at this stage. I think the party's over for now, and they're all just playing ball for now, and waiting for better opportunities later in the race to really start battling. Or maybe we'll see someone like Luca Lib in Jeddah last week, who disrupted the flow of everyone else, who was very happy to just sit in DRS and much like this, sit behind each other and wait for better opportunities later. But not Luca Lib. He was going for it on debut, and he certainly ruffled some feathers, I think it's fair to say. So we'll see if he will do the same again today. He has certainly been right on the gearbox of YCN for the last couple laps, and perhaps a send to the inside is due for the Red Bull driver, as Alex Marciano will watch on if it does happen.
And YCN, the driver in front in that Williams, was another driver who did not hold back in wheel-to-wheel combat and ruffled the feathers, as you said, of the rest of the grid. So is that cohesion at the front going to fall away with the presence of those two drivers? Alex Marciano, as you said, will be watching eagerly to see what these guys are going to get up to. The train still stretching right down the field as these drivers put on a show here at Suzuka. It was not a good exit for YCN. I wonder if he's going to be under pressure. Provotox picks up a time penalty at the Casio Triangle. That's very early to be getting that, as Luca Leb pulls to the inside of YCN, and is he going to get the move done? There's a bit of contact on the entry, but the Red Bull does get through on the Williams as Provotox, on a very bad evening for Kick Sauber, decides to bring his evening to a close after only 4 laps. Well, certainly very, very surprising, but Provotox out of the race. We are down to 14 runners here at the Japanese Grand Prix at round 10 of the championship. So, nevertheless, the rest of the grid carries on. Triska is being detached from the rest of the group. So he seems to be struggling for overall pace, and goes off at Dick 1, spinning out into the wall, spectacularly into the wall. Matisse is out as well. He's gone off at the final corner. Full safety car brought out as 2 drivers crash out simultaneously, bringing us down to 12 already here in this race. 4 retirements after, well, only 4.5 laps. That is certainly uncharacteristic for this grid, as a full safety car is brought out, Ghost. Well, what on earth is this grid going to do? Because they are all running on the hard tyres. Surely it's not viable to go to the mediums from this point on. So a bit of a, well, I don't know what these drivers are going to do on strategy. Maybe nothing. We shall see. It's not going to affect it for the rest of the drivers. But yeah, 4 retirements at this stage. That is a big surprise.
It certainly is. I was yabbering on before the race about how an early safety car is very unlikely, but here it is, and that is Francesco Largo into the pits. Luca Lib as well, Alex Marciano and Napple also coming in. Napple, he's into the wall as he comes in, desperately trying to avoid the Aston Martin. I don't know if he took any damage with that wall hit as he came in. It doesn't seem like it, but they're not replacing his wings, so we'll see. But that was very much heart in the mouth moment for the Alpine driver, but Alex Marciano is going to exit in 9th. The top 6 now are the only ones who haven't pitted, and it's certainly tricky at this stage, Dakar, I would say. If there's another safety car, which again I would say with this grid is unlikely, but we've already seen 4 DNFs in 6 laps and 2 of them spectacular crashes. So I think I perhaps underestimated the challenge of Suzuka to even this caliber of grid. But yeah, it's those top 6 staying out, and this is really interesting now. Triska is now fully out of the championship battle. He is mathematically not able to win the title anymore. So it's all about Tom, Alex Marciano, and Ivan Eskrig. And Tom and Ivan staying out while Alex pits. Now, in terms of strategy here, the mediums, you can take them to the end, but I reckon from here they'll be around 65-70%. So whether it's faster is another question, because the hard runners, obviously they're going to be slower at this stage, but if they can keep the medium runners behind for a while, and then pit, they'll be on fresh mediums compared to all the drivers ahead on very old mediums. And will they be able to catch up? It's around a 20-second margin that they'll have to make up. And it's really up in the air. I think, personally, the pit stopping is the way to go. I think those who've pitted have got an advantage here, unless we have another safety car. Because I don't realistically think, even with the difference in age of the tyres, that gap can be made up. But I've been wrong about these drivers before in PSF3 in terms of underestimating them. So who knows what might happen, as Moi Cooley must have heard me in the commentary box. He's in to the pits for some medium tyres, and he will drop to the back of the grid. But yeah, really intriguing strategy calls here from this early safety car. And yeah, I've no idea. I've no idea what's going to happen. This is going to be fascinating next 21 laps.
One interesting thought that I've had, Ghost, and this may not be the case. Some of these drivers may be so good at managing their tyres, they, well, potentially all of them look to try and get to the checkered flag. But the other alternative is potentially you could use these mediums, because don't forget, all these hard runners, they have to stop again. We've made that very much clear, because it would be illegal to not come into the pits one more time. But for these medium runners, even if they don't look to try and take the mediums to the end of the race, they are going to go into this with a tyre advantage, obviously, of this restart. Maybe look to make progress and stop once if they don't think extending the mediums to the end is going to be the fastest way about things. And it will run on strategy to a 2-stopper for the full race, but you do have better tyres throughout the full duration of it. I think for drivers who are maybe not as confident on their tyre saving skills, is that a potential viable strategy to go with?
For this grid, probably not. But it's up in the air, really. I think you can use the mediums to their full effect now. I think if any of the medium runners get to the front, then they'll probably consider it. But I think the medium runners that haven't made as much progress through the hard runners in this, well, it's second stint for the mediums, but first stint for the hards, are probably going to just consider staying out and going for it. But yeah, if you see Francesco, Luca, and Alex, the likes of those three, I think probably the most likely to make their way through, getting the way up to the front, then I think the possibility of a 2-stop becomes a lot more likely. But yeah, they're not going to have made any decisions yet. It definitely depends on what happens over the next few laps. But we're about to get underway, and AGK has gone straight out the final corner, Daka. That is earlier than we're used to seeing in Suzuka, and he might have caught Tom a little off guard, but no, Tom right to the back of that Mercedes, but no moves being made as they hurtle down towards turn 1 in single file.
AGK lit up the rear tyres and had a snap of oversteer, managed to save it and managed to hold on to the race lead. Fairly calm further down the order, but it is that 5th-6th battle, and you can already see the extra grip that Francesco has versus ML Slash in front of him. Can he carve a way through on the Williams driver? He has to tuck in for the time being and watch for Luca and Alex too. They are running nose to tail through that first sector here at Suzuka. We are on the 8th lap of the race, and it is AGK Racing still leading away from NLR Tom. They have decided to brave it out. on that hard tire. Is that going to be a mistake? Oh, a snap of oversteer out of Degner 2 behind, and Slash is vulnerable to AGK. He breaks late going into the hairpin, and Francesco is to the inside and looking to get through. Slash forced out onto the curb, deploying that overtake button. He does not want to yield this position easily, and they're going to go side by side towards Spoon Corner with Francesco on that inside line. He is going to claim it, and look at Alex! Lunges to the inside of Luca, covers it up and goes for another one on Slash. Look at the championship leader go. He gets 2 in 2 corners. Alex Marciano is on the move. Look at him moving his way through the order. Luca, he'll be frustrated that he got caught off guard with that. He's looking at Slash. Those fresh mediums certainly looking racy as it stands. And behind as well, Napple attacking Luca. Luca also having to defend though from Vessel. Well, fresh mediums certainly proving to be the tyre of choice on this restart. Alex, that was something else though. Carving out those moves, following Francesco through, staying with him, getting past Luca and Slash. That was stunning from the championship leader. He now runs P6.
Those are the sorts of moves that win you championships in PSGL and in many sim racing leagues as well. He is up to P6. What a set of overtakes that was from Alex Marciano. He was all in for Spoon Corner, and it really paid off. And now he is just behind Francesco, who's going to look to find his way through Ivan, but I think Ivan will put up more of a fight. He's got more to lose, but he's very wide at Degner 1. Degner 2, he loses the rear as well. Here comes the McLaren, looking for a second move at the hairpin in as many laps, but he goes for it in the end, and up the inside. Ivan leaves him just enough room. There's contact as they go through. Ivan tries to get the grip on the exit. He won't be too happy about the way Francesco has made this move happen, but they're heading down towards Spoon. Francesco's still got the inside line, but he eventually backs out. He's not brave enough to do the same thing that Alex did just a lap prior, and he just stays behind for now. But Ivan Eskrig all out of sorts through that middle sector, and under a huge amount of pressure, and Alex Marciano just watching and waiting. This is exactly what NLR Tom did not want to see, is these medium runners going straight through the pack, and there goes Francesco braking late into the chicane. What a move through the Casio triangle that was from the McLaren driver, and he is up to 4th place, deservedly so. Ivan's got nothing left in the battery. Alex sees the flashing red light on the back, and he goes clean through down towards turn 1. Nothing that the V-Carb driver can do, and Ivan, I think, is watching his championship hopes slowly begin to slip through his fingers in this Suzuka circuit. He loses the rear as well on the curb, and Luca's now right behind him, and it's just going from bad to worse for him. It's not been his stay, has it, for Ivan, and there's still 17 and a half laps left to go. Luca all over the back of him as they go through Dunlop. He just can't make a move through the 2 Degners, but is it going to be another mistake on the exit? No, not this time for Ivan, but the damage has already been done.
Francesco
again down the inside. Wow, from Francesco at the hairpin. It's his 3rd move at the hairpin in as many laps, and it's his teammate who's next up. NLR Tom will be wondering what on earth has happened behind him as these medium runners are carving their way through, and it's certainly looking like the way to go was pitting onto the mediums, and Francesco and Alex are proving it.
And Alex now looking to try and follow through once again. These 2 Italians on the mediums on the move too, as now they head towards 130R on the Calcio triangle. YCN trying to cover him up. Alex looking to the inside, decides against that one, because I think he would have ran into the side of the McLaren if he tried that one. Can he get another run? He doesn't have much battery left after the aggressive moves, but look at Francesco now, closing in on the leaders, going to the inside of Tom, and we're going to get a repeat of the 3rd lap of the race. Francesco to the very edge of the track, but he leads. Unbelievable! Francesco Lago has carved his way through all of those hard runners and now leads the Japanese Grand Prix. What a move and what a showcase he has put on, scything his way through the order. And Francesco Lago, who took a debut win last time out in Jeddah, is he headed to another one? My oh my, he has pulled that one off, deciding at the exact right time to absolutely put that overtake button to good effect, and now leads the way, and he's going to be stretching all these drivers behind him with electric pace on much fresher, much grippier medium tyres. And AGK Racing, the pole setter for the last 3 rounds, is going to have to fight to stay in contention, because I tell you what, Francesco, wow, in about half a lap he made up 3 places. What a stunning bit of driving from last week's race winner, and he is already putting AGK Racing right on the edge of that DRS range. Francesco Lago just stamped his authority on this Japanese Grand Prix.
Unbelievable. That is how to introduce yourself to a league. Incredible stuff from Francesco Lago. Alex Marciano looking to the inside of the Casio Triangle. Meanwhile, the YCN just, I think, trying to scare the Williams offline, but it didn't quite work. And now they head towards turn 1 again. It's a fastest lap from the McLaren driver at the front, unsurprisingly so. Here comes Alex down the inside of YCN, but the Williams isn't letting him go that easily. Alex Marciano to the inside. YCN hasn't got as much grip, but Alex finds himself boxed in by Tom ahead, but he's made it through. He's up to 4th place, and his championship rival is just ahead of him, and it's looking like it's going to be another race thrown away by a strategy blunder from NLR Tom. We're only halfway through. There's plenty of time for things to change. Another safety car would completely throw this race on its head again, but it's looking at the moment like the medium tyre runners are just carving their way through. Ivan's already down to 10th, Daka. He's been passed by every single one of the mediums except Moikuli, and I'm sure he's going to not be far behind. Luca Lib down the inside of YCN as well to make it more woe for the hard runners at the hairpin. Luca is going to have the ERS as well down towards Spoon. There's nothing that YCN can do. He's down to 6th, and I think it's around this moment that the drivers who stayed out have realised that they have made a big mistake. Francesco Lago, a 1.4 second gap already. Tom is trying to put the pressure on AGK, but he's got to look behind him because his main rival, the championship leader, Alex Marciano, is looking to the inside, but he packs out just in time. I think that's a wise move, and he's going to wait for the run to turn 1. Look at the grip he's got on the exit here, and it's going to be DRS, it's going to be battery overload down towards turn 1. It could be 3 wide. Alex trying to find a way down the middle of the 2 drivers. He gets his way past AGK. He's down the inside of his closest rival, and they make contact, and Tom loses the rear. He loses 2 positions as well as Luca Lib. It looks like he's going to drive through the ghosted car, but no, he backs out in the end, and Tom only down to P4, but Alex is up into 2nd place. It's a disaster for NLR Tom, and Alex Marciano is looking like he is going to put one hand on this championship trophy with 2 rounds to go.
My goodness, and yes, there was contact in the middle of turn 2. I don't think there was much in that at all. We'll see if the drivers have a different view on that, but NLR Tom, is he going to be ruining that strategic decision? Surely he is at this stage. He now runs in P4. Both he and AGK Racing will be ruining that, I think. Their only option in this race is just to try and hang on to Alex. Alex is going to have his own battle to fight. Francesco Lago's stunning sequence a couple of laps ago has put him clearing away at the front of this race. As I'm not sure what you've seen further down the order, Ghost, but
yeah, sorry, Dak. It was Tom going very wide at Spoon. He is putting everything into staying with the medium runners, but it's just not happening. You can see the gap widening, even if you can't see it on the clock. You can see it widening out of every single corner. And Luca Lib now putting him under pressure on the run to turn 1. NLR Tom is putting everything into this, but there's just not much he can do. AGK, though, he's got the DRS. Alex Marciano has not been able to gap him, and the Mercedes goes around the outside. Francesco Lago is clearing away, but Alex Marciano still finds himself in a bit of trouble here, and the hard runners are staying with them for now. But goodness me, it's going to be so close between these drivers. NLR Tom is going to be hoping for some calamity to happen to that Aston Martin in front of him, but at the moment that doesn't seem likely. It hasn't happened yet to Alex all season long, so we'll see if it happens today.
Alex Marciano runs in position number 3. The only race he finished off the podium was in Canada, where that was penalties that put pay to that. But now Tom, his rival's under pressure as Luca with a late move. Oh, Tom tried to close the door, and there's big contact at the apex. The McLaren holds it around the outside. He will not be happy with any event in this race at the moment. Luca trying to attack again. He's pushing the McLaren towards Spoon Curve. Doesn't go for a manoeuvre this time around, but NLR Tom is having to put up with so much on tyres that are simply far past their best and do not have the grip to compete against these mediums in direct combat, and Luca knows that too. He's going to try and find another move as they head towards the Casio triangle. Then he's got that slipstream on NLR Tom. He's looking to the inside, but he also has to worry about Napple, about Vessel, about Zviadek. Look at how close these guys are. Oh, Francesco in from the front.
Oh, contact behind between Luca and Tom as they headed out the final corner. Luca went into the back of the McLaren driver and Tom lost the rear. He lost 3 positions as a result, and Luca, I think, is going to find himself to be an unpopular man in that paddock after this race. He is up to P4, but Tom all the way down to 6th, and it's just gone from bad to worse for NLR Tom. Alex Marciano now leads the race, but Francesco has chosen to come in. It's an early stop onto fresh mediums. He finds himself 12 seconds down. Can he make that all up, or are the medium tyre runners at the front, Alex Marciano, Napple, Luca, Vessel, are they going to try and stay out and just lead this all the way to the end of the race? We shall have to see, but AGK is doing a stellar job to stay with the race leader at the moment, just 4 tenths behind on those hard tyres. And wow, what have you seen at the back, Daka?
Oh, that was AGK, a huge bit of oversteer. He lit up the rear tyres, managed to keep it just on the island there. He is doing a stunning job as the delta between the 2 tyres maybe begins to shrink, but Francesco coming in. Well, this is the dilemma that we talked about before we got back to green flag racing. Would they try and extend the mediums to the end, or would they try and, to stop it with mediums once again and use that advantage in the later laps? We'll see what Alex is going to do, and the rest of the medium runners who have decided not to come in, but Francesco not confident in that strategy of extending all the way to the end, and neither, it seems, is Alex. He goes to the pit lane too, just in front of AGK, and the hard runners are going to stay in this fight, as it seems, because they will be able to tag onto it. AGK may not be out of this one just yet. He's going to be able to put a fresh set of boots on and go on the offensive, as the 2 RBs as well together back on the track in front. Napple and Moikuli have decided to keep extending. Well, they try and go to the end of the race. They don't have a whole lot to lose, particularly Moikuli, who was detached from the rest of the orders. Look at this, down the straight. YCM with that undercut is going to jump this entire group, gets out in front of Alex Marciano. That is going to be bitterly disappointing for Alex, whose gap to Francesco now sits at 3 full seconds, actually nearer 4 as at the moment. So Francesco looking very good, but let's talk about this top 4. Well, Ivan and Slash, of course, we know they will come in. They will probably come in on this lap or the next, but Napple and Moikuli, well, if you look at your tyres and you say, it might be possible to make it, why not go for it in a race where a potential race win is on the cards? Most of the medium runners after the safety car were not brave enough to pull that one off. We'll see if it is a possibility for Napple and Moikuli, or whether they will decide to come into the pit lane, but Napple in particular has a big gap to Francesco and the rest, so maybe he will just try and see it through. We shall see the Ghost that the strategy that you expected to see, Ghost. But Napple and Moikuli, Napple overshoots the chicane a little bit. Does he decide to stay out another lap? No, he doesn't, and maybe, just maybe, extending all the way to the end was a bit too far. Moikuli still deciding to stay out, so we'll see if he is going to try and make use of that strategy.
Indeed, I'm keeping an eye on the lap times now. Moikuli leads the race. His last lap was a 31.6 compared to Francesco, who's just done a 29.8. That is nearly 2 seconds he's taken out of the new race leader on that previous lap. So at that rate, Moikuli is going to be a sitting duck. But, he might still have a chance at a podium perhaps, but he's certainly going to be under a huge amount of pressure. But you have to think, if he stayed out this long now, he's probably going to commit to it. Certainly Slash, I think, is, he actually has to come in. He started on the hards. He's the only one who hasn't come into the pits yet this race. So that will be coming very shortly from the Williams, I would assume. But Moikuli, I think he's already going to be feeling a little bit of pain on those tyres. And will we see him bail out, or will we see him extend and try and go all the way to the end? I think he'll probably see the writing on the wall, having seen everyone else come in, and he's just going to probably come in and see what he can do from there, as Slash is all over the back of him. But NLR Tom down in 10th, 1.4 behind Vessel. It is an absolute disaster of a middle of the race for NLR Tom. And he's going to need some serious luck. He needs something to happen. Moikuli stays out again. Is he going for it, Daka? I think he might be. Slash finally comes in. We'll see where he'll exit. I think he'll be right at the back, actually. But Francesco Largo comes through. He will be taking second place. But Moikuli is only 9 seconds up the road now. Luca Lib with a 29.4. Moikuli's last lap of 31.9. So that is another 2.5 seconds that have been taken out of him by Luca in particular. And Francesco, 8.5. That's already come down by half a second in the first sector. And I think Moikuli is going to be very much a spoiler effect if he does commit to this. And surely now he has to.
At this point, yes, he's giving up too much by extending and then coming in. So he's got to try and brave this one out. But yeah, the rate these gaps are coming down, I don't think he has much opportunity at a high finish. We shall see if he's going to try and pull that one off. But
Luca Lib down the inside of AGK into the hairpin. Luca Lib going for it. He's made plenty of moves around there already this race, but there's contact on the exit as AGK tries to get his foot around the outside, and they make contact between the wheels. Luca just about losing the rear, but keeping it on the circuit. And well, just like last week, Luca not shy of going for a risky low percentage move in this race, but it didn't quite pay off this time. Sorry to interrupt you, Daka.
That's okay, I certainly don't blame you. I'm keeping an eye too on this gap between Francesco and Alex. It has not been coming down at all. Francesco's pace seems to be just absolutely out of this world, and these guys are going to have to cooperate. A 29.2. Tell you, that's not far off the times I do in qualifying around this track. That is stunning pace from Francesco. He did use a lot of battery. Look at AGK though, trying to attack YCN. He was on the defensive last lap, going on the attack this time. YCN able to cover that off, keeping the car in the middle of the race circuit, and he is going to hold on to that fourth position at the moment and chasing down Alex. So yeah, as it stands, he's still in the mix and probably looking at a podium at this stage. Moikuli, well, we were right, he is committing to this, but you could see just looking at him how much he is suffering, how little grip those mediums are offering him.
Luca Lib and AGK, big contact on the run to Degna 1. Sorry, Daka. Luca Lib tried to go around the outside of Dunlop. He had to back out, but then he was looking to the inside as they headed toward Degna 1.
Oh, my
and
goodness!
He's taken him out. You never want to see that in PSGL. And I think Luca Lib, well, that will probably be his last race in the league, I would imagine. Safety car is out for the second time. NLR Tom is suddenly back in this, as is everyone else. We've got 10 cars remaining, but AGK's bad luck goes on. That's 3 poles in a row, but not really much to show for it. And, well, today it was certainly no fault of his own, other than the strategy blunder to stay out. And even that wasn't that much of a blunder. He was out the running for the race win, but he was still well in it for a podium. But yeah, certainly not anymore. And, well, yeah, you never want to see that, and we won't say too much more about it.
Hang on, we have a difference in strategy amongst the leaders once again. Look at this. Francesco decides to come in. Alex does the opposite, stays out. Wow, what could this mean for the future of this race and the vast majority of the drivers coming in? Slash could be the big beneficiary out of this though. Look at this as he moves his way up the order on still pretty fresh mediums. He's just going to jump Moikuli, who's thrown right back into the mix in this race, but most of the drivers behind opting for the soft tyres, the exceptions being Tom and Ivan. And while giving the lack of running we're going to see after the safety car comes in, the softs look like a pretty good tyre for that duration of effort. So I'm not counting Francesco out of this, certainly, but Alex at the front, he's went the other way, as has YCN. We'll see how this is going to play out, but those guys preserving track position for that tyre disadvantage. Their tyres will still be okay at the end of the race, but now they're going to be the ones on the defensive, and Alex Marciano is going to be playing a very different role in this race than he was earlier.
I have to say, I'm very surprised by 4 drivers going for the softs. That is shocking to me. I am under the impression that the softs are absolute rubbish around this track after the first 2 or 3 laps, and there's more than that to go in this race. So, I mean, we'll see, but I did see there's been for a little bit of context, the last week there's been a lot of Japan that me and Daka have been doing. I have seen a driver go for the softs as like part of their strategy. They were going for soft medium. And it wasn't too bad. It was certainly slower than the standard medium hard or hard medium, but it wasn't too bad, and he got the softs quite a long way. So, you know, it's possible, but I am surprised to see these drivers go for the softs. Francesco in particular, he's got the most to gain here on those softs. He's got 4 medium tyre runners ahead of him. Alex Marciano leads the way from YCN, and then it's Slash, but Moi Cooley, look at that. Staying out has paid off. It may have required a little bit of luck, maybe more than a little bit, but he's into P4. He's in with a shout of a podium. Those mediums are perfectly fine, and the only worry he's got is the rampaging McLaren behind him of Francesco Largo. But Alex Marciano suddenly finds himself leading this race legitimately, not even a non-net lead. And, well, we'll see if he can deliver. Will there be carnage behind which will allow him to streak clear? Because we've seen that before. I do wonder, but yeah, this is going to be a mighty finish to this race. There's championship points on the line, plenty of them. Ivan Eskrig's back in this as well. He may be down in 9th place, but if it all goes wrong, and we've seen already today, a lot of things have gone wrong, then he'll be straight back in it, and so will NLR Tom down in 8th. So this is far from over with just 7 laps to go.
Look at the way the order has changed throughout this race. Well, as Videk is the only constant in 10th position, but that's where he started the race. But look at this, Alex up 5 places. Slash and Moi Cooley, well, strategy has favoured them. You could say fortune favours the bull. They're both up 8 places on this race. And notably, NLR Tom in a night of frustrations for the man in second in the championship for the German. He is down 6 places in this race and will be praying for better fortunes in this last stint, which is about to get underway proper. We will have 6 laps to determine the victor of the Japanese Grand Prix. Alex Marciano is going to lead this restart away from YCN, but those drivers have the worst tyres in the field. They will be on the defensive. Slash gained a lot of track position. His tyres are still quite fresh and won't be at a major disadvantage to the drivers behind, but everyone else is going to be on the offensive, and Francesco Lago is the driver to watch. We saw those stunning overtakes that he pulled off earlier. Can he make it 2 for 2? We shall see, as now Alex controls the pace and slows it right down. Whoa. Look at this. As at the back of the field there's carnage as drivers going side by side. The pack has been stacked up to such a degree. I think they managed to get back into order, but that was very unusual. It looks like Alex is going to get going now. Out of the Casio Triangle, straightens up the car and gets pedal to the metal. Away goes Alex. He leads away. A very unorthodox restart, but he gets racing back underway here at Japan as drivers warm the tyres by weaving down the straight, trying to get temperature into that rubber. But it is Alex leading, everyone else tucking in after that very unusual situation before the Casio Triangle. But Alex does lead and will try and preserve it all the way to the flag. Luckily for him, he has the driver with the worst tyres in the field behind him. But look at the man in 5th place and the grip he has through this S section. Those soft tyres, they're not going to have their advantage for too long. He's going to have to make use of it now, but he is all over Moi Cooley searching for a way through, but he's got some work to do if he wants to try and make sure this call was the right one.
Yeah, absolutely. Here he goes through Degner too. He's no stranger to moves at the hairpin today, and it's going to be another one down the inside, but this time he can't get it to break late enough. Moi Cooley defends very, very well, I have to say. That is expertly done from the V-Carb driver, and Francesco is going to have to stay behind, and he's going to have to get this done quickly, because sooner or later these laps are going to start running out. They already are. And NLR Tom still rooted to P8. Ivan Eskrig already a second down on Tom as well. And this could be definitely his championship slipping away. But the soft tyre runners all locked together. Vessel right behind Napple down towards the Casio Triangle. Is he going to try and send it? No, he backs out in the end, but nearly hits him as they go into the braking zone. And on the exit, he's a little loose, but Tom not close enough to capitalise. But here comes Moi Cooley now. DRS enabled for these last last 5 laps. Moikuli not quite close enough, but Francesco could be. He hits the back of the V-carb, just giving him a little tap as they head into turn 1, but no harm done. And it's as you were somehow at this stage, but the DRS is going to be on from now on, and you have to think the drivers are going to start really going for it in these last few laps. What a tasty prospect we have for these the end of this Japanese Grand Prix. It's another barnstormer, yet another one in PSF3.
Oh, it's absolutely cracking to watch. Slash had a bit of a moment heading through that S section under all of the pressure. Can Francesco look for another one here? He's still got a lot of battery. Is he going to send another move into the hairpin? Yes, he is. He's late on the brakes, but Moikuli again holds it around the outside. What about traction on the exit? That's the key. Moikuli gets great traction. It's half a car length in front, and Francesco forced to the outside line through 200R towards spin, but that's going to give him the inside line now. And Francesco Lago at last makes up a place, or does he? Moikuli searches for a way through. In the end, nothing doing there, and Francesco has won. He's got 3 more moves to go for another race victory. That was an overtake, but it was a costly one. He's way down on battery now, and with much less firepower to go in the offensive. Look at Napple though, the Alpine, who goes right to that inside curb of 130R to get through on Moikuli to the inside lane into the Casio triangle, hops right over the curb, still side by side contact through on the exit. He's gonna try and hang this one out, but there's contact again. Unbelievable. Look at Vessel right down the inside, and Tom looking to try and split them almost 4 wide down the main straight. He does get 2. NLR Tom trying to save his championship chances. Moikuli holding it round the outside, can't manage it. He and Napple are still banging wheels as they head into the S section, and Napple eventually backs out, but that was so costly for the pair of them. Tom, well, he's saving his chances as much as he physically can, but he's got to hope for much more. But that was certainly a start, pulling a 4 wide move on the straight. Well, we've had some spectacular moments on that main straight tonight. 3.5 laps to go, and Francesco runs into the back of Slash, heading through Degner 2. Is it going to be another lunge into the hairpin? Not this time. He is going to wait and watch and try and get an opportunity later on. He's got to try and recharge some of that battery too to go on the offensive later on. Alex still leads from YCN out there, but he is going to be looking at the looming threat of Francesco in 4th and Vessel in 5th after all that too, with threading the needle and going right to the edge of the track. Moves up into 5th possession and looking for yet another great comeback drive. But Alex does lead away from YCN, but this grid is running so close. Anything can happen in these last few laps. We shall see how it unfolds.
It absolutely can. YCN right behind this Aston Martin. He needs a good exit out of the Casio triangle to make any sort of move down to turn 1. He's failed thus far, and again Alex just gets an unreal exit on those tyres compared to the Williams driver, and YCN being on older tyres is really helping Alex here. There's nothing he can do. Alex just burning all the ERS he's got left, and YCN too far back.
Oh, Francesco! Francesco forces a move to the inside of turn 2, and now on the outside of turn 3, trying to stick it in there with Slash. He does get through in the end. That was a feisty move, and I don't know if Slash is going to be too happy with it, but Francesco gets another, and he's got the 2 cars with the oldest tyres in the field left to navigate to find a way through. Francesco Lago, well, it has been a warring drive from the driver who made his debut just a week ago in Jeddah. Is it going to be another race win? We shall see. He has Alex Marciano and YCN up in front of him. NLR Tom further back in the other McLaren, tried to carve out his own moves. He's got Vessel in front, he's got Slash thereafter, and he's got a good slipstream heading towards Spoon Curb, but I don't know if he's going to be able to find a move just yet. He has to still be thinking about that championship. He's got to score as many points as he can in this race, regardless of the way he goes about it. But Alex still leads, YCN still P2, Francesco now P3. YCN has been patient, but he hasn't been able to really carve out a move. As you said, Ghost, it's this section here that's been the critical one. He's had to use a lot of battery too, actually significantly more than Alex. Are those older tyres costly? Is Vessel and Tom battling it out? Tom trying to go all the way around the outside. Now, and the Casio triangle gets through. NLR Tom sides past Vessel, and Napple too trying to get away through, but Napple unable to get through. Vessel's going to cover off that one. Tom, what a move! We've seen a spectacular sequence of overtakes in this race, and Tom up to P5. He's salvaging his hopes well in this race as well as he can, and he's got to hope that this lead battle plays out in a way that works for him, with Alex leading. Can he hang on to it though? Just over a lap and a half to go. YCN holding on second place. Francesco charging. He's charged up his battery. Is it going to be another surging move down the home straight, I wonder, to snag away that race lead? But YCN and Alex, they are going to be oh so vulnerable as Francesco continues to charge.
Slash a little bit squirrely on the exit of Degner too, but Tom unable to make any sort of move. He was low on ERS as he went out, so wasn't really interested in making any sort of move, but he's still behind as we're going to be approaching the final lap very shortly. Alex Marciano still leads, and look at how much ERS he saved, Daka. YCN is just trying to stay with him, but Francesco is in the mix as well. Can the McLaren driver make a final push to win this race? I'll tell you what, if we talk about champions drives, if Alex Marciano takes the win here, that will certainly be the champions drive. But we're coming to the final chicane for the penultimate time. Just one lap to go. Look at the exit that Francesco gets compared to YCN. He's going to burn everything he's got with the DRS. He pulls to the inside. But what about Alex? Is he going to be close enough to the Aston Martin? Look at the closing speed. He looks to the outside, but Alex covers him off expertly. Brilliant defending from the championship leader. And he retains the lead of this race, but it's far from over. We could still see a move into the final chicane, or perhaps into the hairpin on this last lap. And who knows what's going to happen, who's going to win this race. NLR Tom still rooted to P5. He cannot find a way past the Williams of Slash, and he is going to be desperately hoping that his teammate for today can find his way through Alex Marciano, because the difference in points is going to be huge. But we're coming to the last half of the final lap. Francesco, is he going to send it? No, Alex covers him off. Francesco's going to get possibly the better grip on the exit, but not quite as they head towards Spoon Curve. They're both relatively even, and goodness me, Daka, who can call a winner here?
I certainly can't. Look at how close Francesco is into Spoon Corner. He decides to back out of it then. Can he get a run? This is what we saw from Fraser and Coolman last season. Alex gets as good an exit as could be expected. Here comes Francesco with that slipstream. It's all going to come down to 130R and a Casio Triangle. To the inside he goes. He's left very little space. They go level into 130R. Alex is pushed off the circuit. He's still in there, still battling on. To the inside, there's contact between them. Alex goes sideways. Francesco gets through with a hard charging move. Francesco is going to win it. Look at behind. Francesco wins from Alex. Slash third. YCN fourth, and Tom, there's almost no time to run through the results as the entire field flashes over the line with nothing to choose between them. But Francesco, well, we will see what happens in the stewards room at the very least with that last move. Alex was certainly forced right to the brink in the end, but in the end he did manage to see it through. Francesco Lago snatches it from his compatriot Alex Marciano with a spectacular side-by-side move. Francesco Lago, how many overtakes did we just witness in that race from the reserve driver occupying that McLaren seat at the moment, putting one on Alex at the end. Alex, though, he was forced off to some extent. We will see what is said after the end. I will not pass further comment on that, but that was certainly a stunner to bring this race to a close. Let's run through the results. Francesco Lago snatches it from Alex, but I think Alex, no matter what, will be pleased with the outcome. I barely had time to cover it, but there was nearly a three-wide finish over the line for third, which Slash managed to come out and take. So great result for him ahead of YCN and Tom, who's just denied in the end. Vessel in sixth, then Napple, Sviadek, Moikuli and Ivan Eskrig. Unfortunately for him, his championship hopes end here at Suzuka. A number of drivers you can see unable to quite make the checkered flag. Luca, AGK, Triska, Provotox, Matisse and Moranvi not seeing the checkered flag there at Suzuka. Wow, what a barnstormer that proved to be. In the end, we may have a busy stewards room after that one, though it must be said. It was a race certainly not without incident, but another superb spectacle for our eyes to be treated to, and a grandstand finish. And Francesco, provisionally, we will say, I don't want to say, because I think it was marginal, but he does take away that race win in the end. And well, 2 for 2. What an impression he's made.
Wow, wow, wow. What conclusion to that race. I mean, up and down the grid, they were all together the entire rest of the 10 drivers that were left for that whole final stint. And, well, it went all the way down to the wire. I was riding on board with the Williams and NLR Tom at the end just to see what was happening. The Williams went side by side, and then there was contact between them as they went through. And then on the exit as well, they both got awful exits. And NLR Tom just tried to scythe through the middle of them, but the gap just closed as he got there. And there was nothing he could do. He was boxed in, and he had to stay fifth. But if he'd found the space, he would almost certainly have gotten both of them and gotten into P3, but yeah, he'll be pleased at least that Alex Marciano didn't end up winning the race, at least over the line, but it's still points lost, and it's still advantage to Alex at this stage. And I think you know, we've got 2 rounds to go, and this is when you start thinking about all the points that you've lost, all the times that you could have gained points where you didn't. And that will certainly be going through NLR Tom's head at this stage, because he finds himself quite a few points behind with 2 to go. And he had 2 opportunities with Alex Marciano not making it to gain a huge number of points on his rival, and he fluffed his lines both times. So I think that's what he's going to be thinking of if he does fall short of the title this season. But what a drive from Alex Marciano. He looked nowhere. He looked nowhere the whole race. And then just when it mattered, just like in Qatar, just when it mattered, he found the extra edge that he needed over the rest of the grid. And he takes home P2 across the line. And goodness me, if he does win this title, you can't say it's not deserved.
Absolutely, and it must be said, that was not a result that he achieved just off of raw pace. That was just brilliant strategy and brilliant racecraft from Alex. He is certainly not a driver that relies just on being quicker, flat out, than everyone else. Well, he's certainly not bad in that respect either, but we see how well he can execute a race. That is, well, his 4th P2 of the season, and again, he has only finished lower than P2 once, again, and that's a Canadian Grand Prix where penalties thwarted his efforts. So stunningly fast, stunningly consistent, and now 21 points ahead of NLR Tom in the standings. Those 2 are now the only 2 contenders. Unfortunately for Ivan Eskrig and Trizga, their championship charges end here. And Alex, well, with 18 points left on offer after the next round to come in a week's time, Tom again is relying on a big race, and it's a huge chance for Alex Marciano to put this season to bed.
It certainly is. We'll be keeping an eye on the points tally. All Alex needs to do is finish ahead of Tom, but he may not even need to do that depending on where they are. But presuming they're going to be near the front, if Tom does not beat Alex next week, that is going to be championship over in terms of the drivers. And so a lot of pressure on Tom's shoulders. And yeah, again, it's about this time where you start thinking about all the things you could have done differently. I think today there wasn't much he could have done other than the different strategy choice at the safety car. But he also got sent out of sorts by, well, a driver that will now not be named. But which lost him a few positions, and then he was always on the back foot from there. But yeah, it will certainly be those 2 street rounds which he will be thinking about this season. But it's not over. There's still plenty of time for things to happen with 2 races to go, and I have seen stranger things than a runaway championship leader have a complete nightmare with just a couple of rounds to go after having a huge point lead, and I say that because I have been one of them. So it can happen. It can always happen. You can never count out anything in Formula One, and especially in this outstanding PSGL PSF3 grid. What a race we've had, what a season we have had, and we've got 2 more to go, and I cannot wait.
Vegas next week is going to be the next port of call. Will we see the championship wrapped up there, or will we see NLR Tom take it to Bahrain? That is when we will bring the season to a close. It is certainly going to be a big task for Tom, who quite simply, after 4 podiums to start the season, has for the most part struggled in head-to-head matchups. He had that brilliant win in Zambor, pulling a move on Alex himself in the end in the wet, so he's certainly capable, but can he put it all together when the pressure is at its highest? Those last couple of races are always tricky ones when you're in a title fight. They can get away from you, so execution is going to be so key, but those two, we now know, are the 2 drivers left. We shall see how it unfolds, but make sure to tune in for those 2 rounds, because we have not had a race without drama this season. It's been an incredible season that I feel very privileged to have covered, and I firmly look forward to what we have to come. But I think that's going to bring it to a close for tonight. Thank you all very much for watching. Mention to GT Omega, and check out the description for a link to their site. Use the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. But thank you all once again. Thank you to the drivers, well, the majority of them at least, for putting on such a show here tonight, and look forward to the last 2 rounds. But from myself and Ghost, it is goodbye for now, and until next time, we'll see you later.